Good morning, everybody from rainy California today, Northern California. I don't know what it looks like in Southern California, but our guest today can tell us. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Jennifer Hart, and I am the host of the Jennifer Hart Connected show, I guess. I don't even know. This is just evolving as it goes on. I love doing interviews, and I consider myself a connector. I connect people who are on a spiritual path or on a path of just growth and development of their self, of their soul, to the people, information, events, and resources that they need to guide and support them along the way. And these interviews is one way that I do that because I find the coolest people and I connect with them. And then I have them come on and teach us, tell us what they're up to, share what services they have to offer. And so we're going to be doing that today with a super awesome guest. And his name is Robert Alexander. He is an audio alchemist and a content creator. In 2022, he founded LifeRhythms, which is a digital sonic wellness hub based out of Southern California that focuses on helping individuals to find greater well-being through the power of personalized music and authentic human relating. Super excited to talk about this. I have one of my own little pieces that we'll talk about. As an audio alchemist, he helps his clients receive, promote, and expand upon their own greater well-being, because everybody is operating at a different capacity between their belief systems, the emotional circumstances, etc. His personable and informal come as you are approach creates an environment that promotes even greater safety, self-discovery, and optimized overall well-being. Alongside private session work, he also creates personalized pieces of music and hosts group digital sound bath experiences. Super cool. Lastly, Robert is an internationally signed recording artist under the moniker Ev Love. His music is heavily regarded in various physical and digital communities all over the world. His releases are featured on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Pandora, Insight Timer, and many other platforms online. He rocks. Known him for a couple years now. Hello, welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing good.
So I always like to start off with how I know people. So I met Robert through this networking app called Shaper, SHAPR. I think it still exists. I don't go on it anymore. It got a little spammy for me.
Yeah.
And he and I connected, and he was doing radio. I think you're doing a radio show, you just said, at the time.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago. And so we got on the phone and we're like, hey, what are you doing? And so we had similar like missions and visions. And it's funny, we were just reminiscing on how much both of us have changed, and we've kept in touch this whole time on our journey. And we've actually talked about you coming on to do a show with me, like for 2 years now, I think. Like we first started talking about it in 2020. Like it's crazy. Yeah. Everything in divine timing though, right? Like,
of course.
Yeah, everything just happens at the right time. So we're coming today because there's actually a Call to Connect event tomorrow for all the healers, light workers, therapists, coaches, anybody else that feels called. We are getting together, and Robert is the featured healer, which is super exciting. He's going to do a heart chakra activation sound journey for us / healing. I don't know if that's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, perfect.
He's so easygoing. Yeah, it's perfect. So I was like, hey, you have to come on, and we have to do, like, we've been talking about the show forever. Let's do it. And what you do is so cool and so unique. And, you know, I've had a session with you, and I have my own little personalized music. So thanks for coming today. Yay.
Totally. You got to tell them the real story about how we met. Just kidding.
I'm like, what's the real story? I don't even know.
I don't even know my own name.
What's going on here? Yeah. All right. So
where are we?
Let's dive into it. So in the agenda, I like to have like a little agenda that people can follow along to make sure I also stay on track. The first thing is like life rhythms, like the intentions, the evolution, and the process. Tell me, what is that and what do you do? So like if someone's here, how would you explain it to them, what it is that you do?
Gotcha. Well, in 2012, because just wanted to say, like, in 2022, I mean, here we are now, you know. Basically, what I do is offer private sessions, and I design personalized pieces of music to help my clients find healing away from the work that I do with them. So some people would say, are you a coach? Are you a hypnotherapist? And I would actually say, well, I'm an audio alchemist. I'm like, wow, what's that? That sounds really cool. So, you know, when people use affirmations or they find ways to dive into what's really important for them, there's so many facets to it. But at the end of the day, though, like what I do is I found a way to reverse the law of attraction process. So ultimately, you're able to lean into the most important state where you are, like your peak state. Kind of like going to a party. If you go to a party or going to an event, you're like, wow, that was really cool. And you take a photo and you look at the photo and go, oh, wow, I remember that day. And you can totally feel the energy and the feeling. Or check out a movie trailer. You go to the movie and you walk away going, well, one of two ways that I feel like, wow, this is really cool. The movie was awesome. Then you see the trailer again and you're thinking, yeah, I remember that movie. The soundtrack was really cool too. Or someone brings it up. So everyone's going through their own stuff. Everyone's living life in their own way. Everyone's rocking to their own rhythm in the way that works best for them. So my biggest intention is for everyone to feel the way they want to be feeling. So if one gets a healing done, or if one goes to get like a massage or acupuncture or even chiropractic, or even going to like a sound bath or like an immersion or type of event, you go there and it's pretty much, okay, well, great. It's super awesome. You go there, you experience community. Maybe, you're able to like walk away feeling good. And that's the biggest intention. And I figured, well, wait a second here. If I'm doing session work with people and I'm helping them lean deeper into what's really important for them, why wouldn't they want to have something alongside their existing tools to help them evolve and grow with whatever chapter in their journey that they have, going on? And of course, they could be manifesting and using this piece to meditate or to remind themselves, like anchoring back in to what's really important for them. So at the end of the day, they have something personalized to really help them along their journey. It's not like they have to drop everything that they're doing to like listen to this music. It's simply like a reminder and a tool to help them really come back to what's really important, which is more in the heart space versus the head space. Because in the head space, it's more of, I care about manifesting, $1 million or living in a mansion or just I want this and this and this and this. However, they forget, well, they remember, okay, well, once this takes place, then I'll be happy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, they have something at the heart where they already are feeling that space and they have a place to remember to come back to it. And it's powerful. It's mind-blowing.
It is. I know that you have tons of amazing testimonials that you shared with me. I have my own piece of music and I have experienced it directly and it's very cool. And I still have my piece of music and I come across it every so often, always when the time is right? When the universe is like, oh, you need to hear this today. And it's so cool to like go back. I do need to do another session because
whenever you're ready, I got you. Because sometimes I don't want to say pieces of music expire, but you might be able to reflect back and going, oh wow, this is how far I've come. I've used this music when I could. And I might be in an entirely different place. And there's this whole inward journey that I'm sure we'll be able to talk about too. It's so powerful.
Yeah. Yes. And it's like, I have grown so much. I think we actually met like 2018, I want to say is my guess. And so
I think so.
Since then, it's like phenomenal growth. Like I have been doing so much work. So yeah, we'll definitely have to get that scheduled. So like, sure. What is what is our frequency and why does it matter?
Ooh, I love that question. Okay. So this is the thing. I mean, I could put on my lab coat and be like, well, this hurts and this tone. And, the thing is, I mean, there's the people that are heady and there's the people that are hearty, in a heart. And I'm pretty much in the combination of both. It's very easy for me to want to figure stuff out and, do these things. So, when I think of frequency personally, I think of vibe. And when I think of a vibe, I think of our vibration. It's the way that we're thinking about things. That's what we're attracting in. I would have a mentor at one point saying, hey, you're a great manifester. In many ways, you're manifesting what you don't want. If I'm, talking with the person and the thing is, they say in God's timing, we all have our connection to source or however we choose to label it, right? So when it comes to our vibe, perfect example, like if I'm speaking with you, Jen, and I'm like, hey, have a good day, and you're having a bad day, you might be like, well, what does he really mean? You know what I mean? Because that's what might be going on inside. There might be other things that might be impacting your experience. And that's what you're experiencing from your internal experience. And so if it's a whole different way and you're on top of the world, and you're just like, oh, I'm on fire and I'm feeling really good and I'm doing great. And I'm like, hey, Jen, have a great day. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Like you too, and we can meet people in that vibe. And we could even walk into a room full of people. And let's say you and I go into a room together, Jen, and lo and behold, there's all these different people that is like, oh, like Robert and Jennifer, what are you guys doing here? And look at the way you guys are dressed. And yeah, we're not really into consciousness. Well, yeah, regardless though, like what are you guys wearing? And why do you guys talk like that? And why do you guys look like that? And we kind of look at each one, ugh, like, what are we doing? And so like, let's go into the room across from us. And so we walk across the hall into the other room, and they're like, oh my gosh, like Robert and Jennifer, how are you guys doing? You guys are looking so stylish and your vibe is awesome. And gosh, we missed you. What have you guys been up to? That vibe, you can feel it. It's like walking into a cesspool of energy. Even if one may not be as aware or conscious, they can still feel that vibe. So we all do our best. Ultimately, that's what I believe, to be happy, to feel good, to move forward. Some people don't even know. I mean, they're so lost and confused, and it's easy to feel that way when there's so much that's going on. And some people, they're struggling to move into a certain place. They're struggling to elevate their vibe or their frequency or their energy. So yeah, again, I mean, it's such a mixed question, because there's a science view, which probably continues to change and evolve over time. There's like the spiritual views, where that could also like evolve over time. And at the end of the day, I like to contextualize, what's really going on, like right here, right now. And as we're channeling, or as we're navigating through this world that we call Earth. And of course, there's a lot of other people that believe in like different dimensions and, different levels of and timelines and things like that, which is great too. So why not use an example that might be taking place here on planet Earth?
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And vibes and energy is so powerful. And what's interesting is that some people are more powerful than others. So like sometimes I've been in a room and one person can walk into a great room and change the whole vibe to like bring it down. It's also the opposite too. Like there's a room and it's kind of dead and like everybody's sleepy. And then all of a sudden someone walks in and was like, what's up, party people? Like that happened to me I saw the magic of it. I was at a hostel in Morocco. And we're all just kind of chilling outside, hanging out, and this guy walks in, knows nobody, and is like, what's up, everyone? Like, who wants to hang out? Who wants to go get a bite to eat? And his energy was infectious and like instantly raised like the whole like vibe of all of us sitting outside at the hostel. And he wanted to go eat. And I was like, this guy's awesome. I'll go, And so just he and I went and we ate and we got to know each other a little bit and hung out. And yeah, it was like so amazing to see. And so I always think of him. I have another friend that I always think of that as soon as they enter the room, they just bring it up. And I'm like, that's who I want to be. I'm not always that person. Sometimes I'm tired.
Sure.
Sometimes I'm, grouchy. If you catch me, if I'm tired or if I'm hungry, might be a little bit
human. Same. I can so like relate to what's going on. By the way, I mean, have you ever had the experience of being in a coffee shop or being at some place you might be journaling or waiting for a friend or something, and you hang out and it's just dead, and then by the time you leave, it's just bumping. There's so many people that come in, and there's a certain flow. Like I noticed that. Like there's times I'll go into journal, like just unload on my mind on a sheet of paper or some pages, and lo and behold, I just see like like this long crowd. Or I would talk with somebody before talk with the person who's taking my money basically for the coffee or meal, and I would ask them, how's everything going? How's your day? Oh, you just missed a huge rush, basically.
Yeah.
So it's just wild how we call certain things and people and energy in. It's so interesting.
So that brings me to my next question. So in your experience with, music and everything you've said so far, like how does one control their own frequency?
Well, when I think of control, I think of basically, how do we manage?
That's a nicer word.
Well, I'm not even meaning to sound passive aggressive or even like control what the situation is, but I mean basically, well, because control is like, okay, well, how do we manage? How do we work with what's going on? And we only have the ability to work with ourselves, and sometimes what if we're all over the place? And that's okay too. I guess the question is for me, like, how do I choose to go about it? Because I can't speak for everybody. Well, I can, but I don't want to assume. I think it's one of those things too where there's certain tools that we have, right? And one tool today may not work tomorrow. So for instance, like metaphorically, if we have, or like an analogy, energetically, I don't know. Anyway, it's kind of early here in Southern California. And by the way, it is sunny here. It's actually really nice here. Think of it like if you have like a toolbox and you have like a hammer or you have like a wrench or things like that. What if you need to like nail like, something into a wall? Well, then you'll use a hammer. But if you basically need to use something to use a wrench, then you'll ultimately, use that wrench. So at the end of the day, when we have our energies, I mean, there's tips to do that. There are tools to do that. And based on how we're feeling and what's going on, all of them may not even work. But at the end of the day, you might be like, okay, well, I was in a relationship for a very long time, which ended last year. And one of the things that she reminded me was, being curious about things. There's certain things that we feel like we have our back to a wall. It's like, I created this scenario. I co-created this in my reality. So how do I work with this? Like, gosh, all these different tools are not working. Like in this case, using it in this context, like how is the best way for me to utilize my energy? Like I'm willing to discover another tool for me to work with what's going on and like show me the way. Like I'm willing to see where I can work with that. So in the music standpoint, that might be a question too, that maybe you might be thinking in that way. There might be a song that you might be thinking of. Maybe you might think of this song. Maybe you can play it on your phone or your media player, or your tablet or your computer, media player. Maybe there might be ways to, think of a certain song if you're unable to like access a song. At the same time, if you're really feeling kind of, off and kind of weird, especially if one has a recording that I might have made with them, then basically they can tune into that. I mean, there's so many tools, and sometimes we just don't know because we're so lost in it. And that's when it's always a good idea, or ideally it's a great idea to get curious.
I love that. Is there any other tools that you personally use that you might share with other people that are watching right now?
Oh, big time. Oh my gosh.
All right,
Oh
give
my
me a couple.
gosh. Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, to be honest with you, I like being transparent. I'm a human. I mean, I have a lot of wisdom. I love connecting with people, and there's quite a few people that have been going through the ringer. And I was realizing I was going through a couple of circumstances where I was really feeling like I was feeling like emotionally hit. And I'm thinking, whoa, like, if I'm meeting new people that are ultimately, friends and what have you, or friends that might potentially lead into something else, like, I don't know. I don't ever want to expect. But I would reach a place where I'm just like, whoa, what's going on? Like, I don't even know these people. They don't owe me anything. And it's not like I was expecting to go on a date with them or anything. But I mean, these certain people, I was like, what's going on? And I was feeling just like really just like tangled, like in my mind, like, where do I go with this? Like, what's going on? And I was attempting to work with these parts of myself, because there's the part that's very much like, hey, like, this is the reality of things. And here's another analogy as well. Here we are in this world, right? And we're actors of our movie, or we're players in this, video game, I guess you could say. I had this idea about this. So there is this type of being called the observer. So we could stand back without any emotion, just kind of looking back going, okay, that's cool. That's what my character is, what my avatar is doing, But imagine it like we're actually playing, a character in a video game. So, we have the controls, we can press the buttons, we can jump, we can fire a weapon. Although I don't really play many video games anymore. But long story short, though, it's just like we have this ability to be the player in the game and also be the player of the game. I like that. So
That is good. I like it.
You work with it, right? So the player in the game is not really doing anything until the part inside is able to work with us. So if the player in the game is feeling totally overwhelmed and just freaking out and there's so much going on, well, I just thought about this too. Well, there is a pause button on the controller.
Yeah.
Press the pause button. Just stop for a second. Like, so for me, with me realizing the player or the actor or the role in the movie, me stepping back, there was like this split. There was some really interesting things going on. And I was telling myself, well, what do I need? It might sound unrealistic, but like, what exactly do I need right now? And I would take the time to go to a coffee shop, or I didn't really, the crazy thing is, I think there were times where if I was really going through something, like really going through it, and I might need to talk with somebody, I would do it. However, things have become really simple in my life. Don't get me wrong. Some things can be complicated and a bit difficult to move through. However, I have this ability now to like lean back and go, you know what, in the grand scheme of it, just being the observer or being like the player of the character in the game, all is well. I'm just playing a game, In the meantime, if I'm like the video game player, I could be, or the video game character, I could be like, oh my God, there's all these enemies, and where do I do this? Like, where do I go? There's so much going on,
Yeah.
So really, just being able to know like what the truth is, and how's the best way to work with it, so I don't ever really have to experience this type of stuff again, because I'm in a level of mastery, experience. So in essence, it's really giving myself that love, the care, What other tools am I willing to learn? Am I rebuilding the wheel? Am I working with this in a very specific way? Because I really felt it on a deeper level. I'm like, how can I give myself that love and care that if I'm feeling so fragile by those couple experiences, like what is there to learn from this? So again,
Always.
I'm in mastery, you know?
Yeah, yeah, always. I love the analogies you used about either being the actor or the video game player because you're
Yeah.
right. Like, I get into overwhelm a lot, and I'm like, okay, stop, like, pause. That's what when you said that, I was like, yes, that's perfect. So, I'm like, okay, pause, and what do I need? Like when so sometimes it's like I just need to put on some music and dance and change my frequency because we're talking about frequency
Oh
and
yeah.
rhythm of music. And so I love that. It's that awareness. It's talking to yourself. It's checking in with yourself. It's
Yeah.
knowing that like sometimes we get so caught up in our own stuff that we can't see outside of like these little blinders right here like this. And then if you can just get those blinders off a little bit, it's like, oh, it's a whole new world, like Aladdin. And yeah, I love that. And so for me, music plays a huge part. Like you were saying, like maybe it's a song and maybe it's dancing to a song, and or I love to go walking and having that time to myself, and I put my headphones on and I'm listening to music. It's not just walking, it's walking with music. There's something magical in there for me. So it
Yeah.
was, it was a really great tool and explanation. And there was something else I was going to say. It'll come back to me, but
Definitely.
it always does. Well, and the thing is like honoring the pause and shifting gears, changing frequencies can totally change everything. This is what I was going to say. So, I personally have taken on a couple new things in my workspace, which is expanding me. And I have felt, like I said, a little overwhelmed. Plus, starting and running my own business, doing the interviews, my events that you know about,
Yeah.
too. And so, I made a decision like this weekend. I was like, okay, I need to get out and like it's not all about work all the time. I need to go have fun. I went out, we were camping, my family was camping. I went out and I hung out every day during the day. And
Yeah.
like magic happened when I actually changed the frequency by changing my location, by changing like just giving myself permission to have fun, to rest, to set work down. Cause in society we really get into like work hard, hustle, 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 like go
Uh-huh.
plow through. And I was just like, I'm really exploring the feminine of the work ethic where it's have fun, play, enjoy every moment. Like yesterday, I had such a magical day. Like when I was working, I was just enjoying every piece of it. So my frequency
So
was
awesome.
completely different. So my emotions and my mindset were different as well. And then, like, I don't know, like all this money just starts flowing. And I'm just like, ooh, that's where the magic happens, like
Uh-huh.
it's that frequency. So that's
Oh
the
yeah. You're changing the channel.
I changed the channel. Yeah. And so I love your analogies about that.
Oh, thank
Okay.
you.
So you mentioned you have reverse engineered the law of attraction. Like, what? Tell me more. Like, I'm
Okay.
just like, what
Well,
does this mean? I can't wait to hear all about it.
yeah, I don't even know if I even shared in that type of way before. So I figured in my definition of it, and it's not like I'm going, oh, I'm the master of this. I mean, I'm as human as you could ever possibly be, and I'll be as honest and forthright and transparent as possible, especially live. It's like, what more do I really have to hide, in a public way? But
Right.
anyway, like long story short, though, so when I think of the law of attraction, I think of manifesting and really bringing in certain things. And
Mhm.
I gave away a bit of the secret before, although I didn't say, well, this is how it is. So most people, including myself, it's very easy for the brain to kick in and go, hey, well, yeah, well, I want to do this. When people want to come in and do a session with me, I wouldn't be surprised if they say, well, I really want to experience this, or I really want to do this. And I see myself, making money, like a whole bunch more money, and living in a different place, or going to go traveling, or if they're single, I care about attracting my partner, my love of my life, and having a family. Uh, Even when it comes to being in a relationship, well, we're not doing so hot right now, but I love for us to just be more on a different page and be there more for each other, and diving into that. So the thing is, ultimately, it's like, well, when we experience fill in the blank, then we are ultimately experiencing afterwards. Then I'll be happy, or I'll be fill in the blank, happy, satisfied. So I realized, what? That's more in the head. And like we were saying prior to me going on, like there's the head, the heart, and the gut, and ultimately, the head is like, hey, heart, like show me what, I want to learn all that you need, or I want to learn all that you know. So like show it to me, prove it to me, like show me that it works. And the heart's like, all the information is here. Like I'm here to help. And then the gut's like, well, when you both are able to, come together in unison, then I'll be able to drive you, because the gut's like your gut feeling, like the driver, like the compass, like the driver of the vehicle. So, and we follow that. We want to turn right or turn left, and it's based on that one versus like, well, that's what the directions say. Well, the GPS directions in the car might be different than what our gut is saying because we know how to bypass it. So basically, long story short, it's very easy for us to be in our heads. How are we going to be able to manifest?
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, well, it has to be a certain way. It needs to look a certain way. It needs to feel a certain way. Well, feeling, absolutely. And I'm far from saying I'm like a master. Somehow I'm able to do it with other people, and I'm still on my journey. Fine tuning and doing certain things. So I'm not going to be yes. I'm not going to say, oh yeah, everything is perfect, because in essence, in a spiritual way, everything can be. Everything is amazing just the way that it is, and things simply are. And if we just simply are, because we can be with things, but if we just are, then we're just going to be sitting here,
Mm-hmm.
But we can participate in life, right? So at the end of the day, getting into a heart space, getting into that space of one's heart, and they're feeling it like, oh, wow, this place feels great. I'm manifesting, I'm creating great income. I'm developing amazing relationships. I'm attracting these persons in my life already. Like we're doing, great things. They're just really feeling the energy of it and really being in the essence of it and trusting, going, I know that it's here and it's showing up when it's meant to be here. Another thing I learned from my last relationship as well is she would say things like this and or something better, or this and something better, and or something better. So basically, we're not limiting our abilities to create. We're allowing ourselves to say, hey, this sounds great, and even something greater would be even awesome too. So we're keeping it open to receive even more of a greater element. So that inner space where we're operating from our heart, that's the place where I'm capturing. So why not capture that space and listen to it, be in it. The music simply supports that state. The music I create works with that vibration. I guess you could say they both work, they intertwine together. At the end of the day, though, I mean, this is a tool, one of the many tools to help you really elevate and expand, what's really important to you. And everyone's on a different journey.
Yeah.
So why not work with that state? So when I talk about really reversing like a law of attraction, there's a lot of tools that are out there where we think that it may be working. Maybe it's working to a degree. I know like The Secret blew up like, in the 2000 decade, and I just, there's so many ways to manifest. I mean, we're manifesting without even knowing it.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, what I hear is, and also from what I know, is that in the mind and in the logic, it's like we're trying to control the how of things. I always have to remind myself, let go of the how. Like ask for more money, but it's not necessarily going to be a certain way. You know what I mean? Just be open to however that comes to you. It's the feeling and the frequency of how we feel that attracts that in. So like yesterday I said I was in a place of joy all day. And I was just like, oh, like I had heard this quote from Gary Vee, and he was like, if you don't love the process of what you're doing, you're already failing. And I was like, oh yeah, like you should love every minute of like enjoy it, like embrace it, dance with it. You know what I mean? And so yesterday I was just over here doing all the things. And so I was in the frequency and the feeling of joy. And then when you capture the music for people, you're capturing that feeling. So then anytime that they listen to the piece of music that you have or some of your music, they're taken back to that time in the session that you had been able to capture like this high vibrational feeling, and then they can tap back into it. So it's like I don't want to call it cheating, but it's like
it's not cheating at all. Think even like an extraction.
Like it's a fast track. Like,
well, yeah, you're able to go back to that place. You remember it. Like I was saying at the very beginning of this interview, like looking at a photo or hearing a song. Like you could hear a song and you time travel. And you're like, wow, I remember that. I was in high school. Or wow, when I was a kid, my mom would be playing that in the car. Oh gosh, she would sing that song. But you go back to those moments, and there's like I don't want to say, maybe it is neuroplasticity. But at the end of the day, I mean, there's certain things that take place.
Yeah.
That, we're able to have a reference point. And I think there's some missing components. So there's things like our brains. I love it when people, well, I don't really love it so much anymore. When people say, oh, we got to figure this out. Well, what is there to really figure out?
Yeah.
The brain is a great tool. The brain likes to, see certain things. The thing is, the brain is learnable. Like the brain wants to learn certain things. My business coach taught me that one for sure. Like the brain only knows what it knows.
Yeah.
It's really that simple. The heart, again, the heart space, or it's like spiritual, or it's whatever we choose to subscribe to, right? I'm a huge proponent for that, because, think of it even like when ordering food. One day you might want a salad, tomorrow you might want a pizza. But then the following day, do you want some more pizza? Do you want a salad? Do you want a burger? What if you want a veggie burger? What if you want a vegan burger? It just having that availability to be open to what our body and our minds and our essences, what they may need.
Yeah.
There's something very important to tune into that. And it's not like I'm hijacking, part of the brain when extracting or gathering, because I would ask the questions like, what do you need to hear from yourself in that state as you're feeling this, to remind you of this state as you're navigating throughout your day? And this can be used in whenever you're feeling called to use it. And I'm not telling them what to say. They're the ones that are sharing it with me.
Yeah.
And there's a secret sauce. Say what?
The power of the questions, because
Yes.
we know our own answers the best. Like we know inside. We have our internal guidance. And so you're just extracting that from them and guiding them to verbalize the answer out loud.
And there's times I would do almost like an interview. Like there was somebody who I ended up interviewing in Spain, and there was a point where she was having a difficult time. When I asked her, to share, she felt really uneasy. And basically it came to a point where I ended up helping her feel calm. And at the point when we were, doing the recording, I was interviewing her, and she was able to open up, and it felt very simple and very, very caring. I mean, this is the thing too with me. There's a couple of secret sauce elements, and one of them is, for me, asking the specific people, like individual, where do they want to go? What feels right for you? Offering them the invitations of what really feels right in that way for them, because one small little blip, and the process can be done just like that. It's really important to meet somebody where they're at, working in a way that helps them feel more comfortable to open up and explore. And that might take time. That's why I work with people in a variety of ways. It's just like, oh, I only do like a session, but based on the flavor and the style and how comfortable they feel, then I'm able to find ways to work with them and see what their needs are, what they want to work with and work through. Because we're all like layers of onions, and we're all onions with like different layers to peel off,
Yeah.
Certain things may want to fall away or be looked at. So it's a really powerful place to be.
Well, I love Amanda's comment. I want to share it. She's watching from Canada. She said, I love the mystery of allowing life to happen. And I love that too, because it's like that curiosity piece. It's just being, it's seeing, it's exploring, it's being open, it's releasing the how of things. We have a question from Mr. Michael Adams. How did you get to the point of understanding frequency through music, and what's the story behind that? Great question, Michael.
Yeah, Michael, really, really good one. Well, let's see here. So my music project, I started playing music as an early kid. As a kid, I remember like writing like my first song, like just writing like lyrics and just singing on top of that. Like I never took a guitar lesson. I had friends teaching me how to play guitar. Even though I produce, it's more like electronic stuff now, in terms of like electronic ambient type sounds and tones and things like that. Like I never went to school to learn frequency. There's certain things that we have that are inherent gifts that we all might be able to learn. Like I'm going to be 43 this year. And I think when I was like 19 or 20, like I remember playing music for a friend, and I was just playing guitar, and he was feeling really sleepy, and he started to like fall asleep. I'm like, wow. So I just felt like I was like, you know what? I must have been like a sound healer or some sort of medicine man in my past life. And I'm thinking like what the, I don't want to swear, just be mindful that way, because I swear like a sailor. But basically it's just like, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I would have never thought about what sound healers are all about back then. And people now like, oh yeah, I do sound baths and I'm a sound healer. It's like, wow, I would have never thought about that, but I felt that inherently. So my understanding of frequency isn't from a place of going, oh, well, I studied under like Jonathan Goldman or David Gibson up in Northern California. And there's so many different schools and so many different philosophies. with how to access sounds. There's people that are doing toning. There's people that are using like Tibetan bowls and what have you. And there's people that have certifications for sound healing, which is great. So my understanding of it generally and genuinely, I felt connected to it. I knew music has a very important role in my life. And I realized when I played music for people and when they would play either stuff that I'm attracted to, and people would hear it and they'd go, wow, I'd feel a deeper connection energetically, I guess you could say, as a frequency. I was really feeling connected to that music, whether if it's like jungle or drum and bass, you can feel like the rawness of the energy of it, you know, or if it's like progressive house, then it might have some sort of like, you know, synth track that sounds like pads that are very just like very soothing and calm. I can really connect to that. And I mean, I really feel a deep connection to music. And my two purposes here in life are to create music and to help others. Those, and people are like, well, can you choose one of, you know, what is like the thing? And I'm like, unfortunately, I cannot separate those two. And I've been able to find a way to marry that. So when it comes to, I'm so sorry, like you're asking me like, how did I find my, or Michael was saying, how did I find my purpose with it?
He said, how'd you get to the point of understanding frequency through music? What's the story behind that?
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So the minute I was, and thank you for getting me back on track because it's easy to go down different like rabbit holes and things like that. So I started paying attention to the way I started feeling toward music. And then I started paying attention to how others are responding, even with my label signed music project and other areas too. And people are like, wow, your music is so chill, it's so calm. And I figured, well, you know, I had my ideas in terms of how I wanted to start working with personalized pieces of music and, you know, being on that evolutionary journey that way. I just had this sense. Like the other thing is holding intention. Like when I hold intention and I do certain things when holding the intention, it's like you're making, you know, food for somebody. You know, I've realized basically that there's a certain power and energy behind that. So I think the more I started feeling like, hey, you know, I really feel inspired to do more of these things when working with people and just gaining more of a mastery by connecting with people and like leaning more into my own gifts that way. There might be something behind that. So that's an evolutionary path that way. But when it comes to me really figuring out or me understanding my relationship with frequency, I mean, that's gone on for a very, very long time. So it's one of those questions where it's not like an easy question to fully answer the one specific way. Like, oh, I studied under this person and I went there, you know, I studied for like, you know, 3 years, you know, for this degree, and I went here and I did this. So hopefully I'm not going too all over the map.
Michael, does that answer your question? I can always connect you. You guys have been connected, so we can.
I had a feeling when you mentioned his name.
Connected, yeah. At the event that you went to last time, and then the next one coming tomorrow. And I love it. Michelle Sophia says, "Music is life. That's why our hearts have beats." Music is life. Like music affects you. It can take you back in a minute, like you said earlier. It's like I can change my whole mood with music. I can, if I'm feeling sad, I just really connect with music. I'm like, give me all the sad songs right now. But it makes me feel better, like, because it can like express my feelings through music without me having to express it. But it's like an outlet, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Okay, Michael said yes, thanks. Amanda says, can't wait for the next event. I know, me too. See you tomorrow. If anybody's interested, let me know. I am giving the event away for free this month. It's tomorrow, 10 to 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. And super cool people like Robert are going to be there. Amanda's going to be there. Michael's going to be there. Michelle Sophia would love to see you there. Let's talk about, we kind of already talked about it, but is there anything else you want to add to the power of personalized music?
Ooh. Well, I like to see your life, your rhythm, your frequency, because everyone's operating on their own rhythm. Everyone has their own frequency. You know, at the end of the day, I mean, it's so important. I really do believe, and everyone has their own relationship with music, their own frequency, their own vibe. You know, we all have tools. So if it's anything, I mean, if it's more of like an intention and invitation, that whatever that looks like for you. I mean, it doesn't matter like what type of music you listen to, if you resonate with it. And if there's certain things that you really feel connected to, I mean, it's really important to take away what's meant to be. And if you don't know, you know, allow the way to be revealed, because that type of experience, it's your own personal experience. So when it comes to music, and especially if you have your own, you know, why not work with it to help you manifest what's really important? Because it's there to help you amplify your vibration. It's not there to take anything away. It's there to add more value into your life. Music in general, I mean, and my intention for everyone is to feel the way that they want to be feeling at any given moment, although that may not always be happy. So yeah, I mean, personalized music, it's just, I get the chills whenever I think about it. Most times, at least.
I love it. You're like, I get the chills. I'm like, woohoo, Mufasa.
Yeah.
It is very powerful. Music is powerful in general. So then if you take it to a personalized level, like, holy smokes. And then tell me about, what is the Genie in your headphones? I know, but like, share it with everybody else. It's such a cool name too. Super cool.
Sure. So this is like actually the first place I'm actually bringing in more of the information. I mean, I put a couple of covers up on Instagram and just not in the regular feed, but like in my stories.
Yeah.
So I'm actually launching a package soon. It's called Genie in your headphones, and I figured, think of it like listening to a genie, or being able to access this magic inside of us. So why not access our genie? And people might be like, what? Like, wow, that sounds kind of interesting. And I was thinking, yeah, I mean, it would be cool to connect with people, and it's a guided imagery series. So my voice is in there. That's one area where I'm looking forward to doing more of this year, is doing more voiceover work. I'm one of those people where I don't like being everything to everybody, but I'm a multifaceted person. Although I'm very clear when I do my best to be clear when I speak with people, because I don't want to go all over the map and like, whoa, I'm lost. You were doing this, and now you're doing this. So basically, there's like a five track, or I guess you could say they're 5 individual pieces of music. Well, they're a guided journey series, and so they have music behind it, and I'm walking each individual who chooses to listen to it through a guided journey. And there's one called Clearing Your Magic Palace, basically. There's one which is like coming home to your kingdom.
Cool.
There's one that's based, thank you. There's also one like connecting with your inner genie, or connecting with your genie. Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few of them. And at the same time, though, too, I mean, these are all geared to help you lean more into that version of what feels right for you. And you can be listening to it over and over again. And ultimately, there's so much you can do with it.
Right now you have a wait list for that, right? Because it's not quite released yet. It's going to be coming out. Where can people get on the wait list?
They can message me directly, or they can find me through my website and contact me. Or
okay, I posted your website.
Say what?
I posted up your website. It's in the captions, so people can go to the website. And then when they get to the website, where on the website? Because I'm looking at the website now, and I'm like, there's so much good stuff on here. It's so pretty.
Yeah, maybe at the contact page, they could be like, hey, you're on Jennifer's show. Any chance you can put me on the wait list, and I can put their name in?
Got it. So just hit the contact me button and contact with you directly.
Or send me an instant message, or like a message here through, I can't believe it's a message, but send me just like a message basically through Facebook, or, wherever you are being called to be in touch. I'm more than happy to get back to you. And as long as you reference the show, I'll make sure you're taken care of. Let's just put it that way.
Aw, thank you. And what's super exciting is when I get my book done and ready to be released, you and I are going to collaborate on a guided soul journey for my book too, which is super exciting. I love that.
So on. I can't wait.
I know. Speaking of collaborations, are you doing collaborations with other like healers and entrepreneurs currently? Is that one of the services that you offer?
Big time.
Okay.
I love collaborating. As long as it's grounded and there's forward. Say what?
Do you want to share about what's your ideal collaboration partner and what do you do? So, because there's a lot of people that have businesses that are watching this. So I'm like thinking in my head, like, oh, you can connect with this person and this person. So I'm like, you just share, and then the universal magic happen.
Well, that's a beautiful thing too. And thank you. I mean, remember, I do have a music project. So I have people that, some people are like, oh, we got to work on music together and let's create an album. And I'm kind of going, okay, that's quite a bit of work. But, there's so many different phases, and there's a lot of people wearing different hats, doing different things. So I have a music project, which I'm developing like a new album on that one. There's also this content creation business that I have that's more of, graphic design and sound design and, creating unique content that way. And there's LifeRhythms where I'm working with people and doing private sessions and creating custom content that way as well. Like I have that chakra collection that's up, there's different things that I've been doing with that. So there are times when I have somebody in their business saying, oh my gosh, like we got to work on a product together. Like, let's see where we can go with that. Or, hey, I need music for a guided imagery. Although that would almost be more like a work for hire type thing. There's so many ways, and there's people that get the chills. And I have people that are going, hey, maybe you can do an NFT. And I'm going, sure, like let's see. My whole thing is it's very easy to be in the thinking stages, and when people brainstorm, like a lot of them, it's just generating ideas. And for me, it's where does the rubber meet the road. And it's not like we have to know the exact steps, let's gauge it. Is this going to be like a long-term project? If one's like so overwhelmed for the next 6 months, do we touch bases in 6 months? So, I mean, I'm pretty open to discuss different ideas. I mean,
Mhm.
I know I'm working on a few things that are a bit top secret. It's I pretty much, I feel like I'm signing like an NDA without really signing it in relationship to creating some healing music for some hospitality, you know, type, you know, type things or thing. There's other areas too where I'm most likely going to be working with a collaborator with some music. She might be doing some spoken word with poetry, and there's a few things that way. The thing is, I don't like to limit myself to the types of projects that I'm doing. However, as long as there's a general idea and we're able to flow on that, that's the most important thing for me. And there's ways where I can connect people as well. There might be people where we might be able to dial in even more things. So I'm not meaning to sound too nebulous. I just figured collaborations, I think they usually boil down to maybe either working on some music or working on a product together. Or, I mean, I've had people that would ask me, "Hey, can you help me do like a layout for like a book cover design? Can we collaborate on that?" Or, so it's a really interesting space when I think of collaboration. It's kind of like going to the grocery store to get food. Well, what
Yeah.
kind of food are we getting? How fast do we need it? Is this frozen? Does this expire? Does this go bad really soon? We want to make sure this is a healthy collaboration. So,
I love
anyone that
you
might
and the
be
analogies. That cracks me up. You and your analogies. I love analogies, so I'm just laughing.
my
Um,
coworker and I were talking about that too a couple of days ago. I haven't seen him for a while. I was working for a corporation for 9 years, and this coworker that we both had, he would use so many analogies, and I realized, oh my god, I'm doing the same thing. It's so funny.
but that's how I relate. It makes it relatable for me. I relate through stories and through like seeing it in a way that just gets into human life. You know what I mean? So like going to the grocery store, Amanda was like, "I have ideas for you already for collaborating."
Right on.
We have another question. Is
Sure.
there a way to capture or find out the frequency of the music that we listen to? From Tiffany Nicole. She said she's always wondered.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I guess I'm wondering what Nicole, right?
Tiffany.
Tiffany, excuse me. So I guess Tiffany in this way. I mean, so there's like a standard tuning that's actually in everyday music, and that tuning is called 440 hertz. So I guess when we think of a vibe, there's so many like ways to capture that. Are we talking about the actual frequency? I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, do we want to capture the feeling of it, or do we actually want to know like the number of what that might be? And there's so many ways. One person can say, hey, you play this frequency with the heart, and this is how you activate the heart. Someone else goes, no, well, this is how you do it. So it's like the frequency wars. Some people use 432 hertz for tuning for music. I have an audio program where I use 528 hertz. Do I know the magic behind it? I'm sure there's lots of power behind it. At the end of the day, how do you feel when you listen to the music? So I think for everyday music, for like standard tuning, yeah,
Drum and bass.
heck yeah, drum and bass, no
I'm
doubt.
like, I'm gonna try this out and see what happens when I show it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, drum and bass for sure. I can definitely feel it, especially old school drum and bass. Yeah, no doubt. I can feel it for sure.
I feel like we'll have to set up another live because we're coming up on the hour, but
No worries.
talk
Sure.
just about like because I asked you the other day because you're like, well, in the healing session, it'll be the hertz, and I was like, but what's hertz and binaural beats and like,
There's so many of them. And
yeah,
people come to me too. They're just like, hey, so don't you ever know about frequency? Or tell me, like, do you use those binaural beats? Yeah. No. So I mean, there's so many ways because there's like brain entrainment software. There's binaural beats, isochronic tones, subliminal. There's people that are like, hey, I don't like hearing my voice, so I'm like, I'll just make it like more like subliminal. You can barely hear it.
yeah.
So but I'm not here to program anybody or to do any of that. So it's just there's so many ways of doing about it. And one of the biggest things I've ever learned, really quick, without getting too much down like the rabbit hole, is I remember on my quest of looking to see how's the best way for me to gauge or measure frequency or tones or things like that. So I've had people tell me, oh, get a frequency generator or do this or do that. I spoke with one gentleman who's a pioneer in the industry. He's been doing it since like the 80s with vibrational technology and has like different softwares. In fact, I used one of his pieces of software as like a license, had a license to that to master my first studio album for my music project. So I was asking him because he would hear my music and he would just be like, oh, and just lean back in his chair and have his like visor on and, all these really interesting things. And I would say, I've been meeting up with you for so long, but I'm wondering like, how is the best way to gauge this? And he would say, honestly, use your heart. And I kid you not, I think anywhere between like 89 to like, 97% of the time, it's spot on.
Yeah.
People are really resonating with what I create. So when it really comes down to the everyday frequencies, and when it comes down to um, the types of tools that we use and what do we resonate with, we get to trust our heart in that, and that usually shows us the way anyway.
Yeah. When you said use your heart, it reminds me of when people like make food and they're like, I made this with love. Like now that I've been on this journey of consciousness and personal development, I totally understand the statement because it's the intention behind it. It's the feeling of we're doing it. And so that's where the message has been so loud and we're talking about it now for me
Yeah.
lately is like, don't forget to like be in the creation mode of like, how are you feeling when you're creating this? What are you thinking about? Because if I'm over here
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I gotta do my stupid website, like what feeling am I putting into that when people show up and see the website? Like it's crazy, but that
Yeah.
travels and that like comes through. And so I'm just really being intentional in what I do every day and to,
So
yeah,
rad.
do it with love. Exactly what you said. It's so
Oh,
great.
speaking of which, I was going to say really quick too, and then you interrupt, and I'll give you like a real like quick story too, without getting too far into it. There's an old friend of mine who was sharing with me about her mother who passed away, and she had her friend over for dinner or for like a meal or something, and her mother's friend was saying to her friend like, I hope you enjoy, right? And her friend's like, oh, this food is so amazing. You got to give me the recipe. And she goes, well, whatever you do, one of those ingredients is love. So make sure you're putting love into the food. And we're not talking about the type of love that, for me, a little caption, you're not the type of food if you're pissing off a waiter or a cook, in the kitchen at a restaurant. So basically, yeah, well, the friend comes back and she goes, you didn't give me the right recipe. You got to give me like the right recipe. The food was amazing before. And she goes, did you put love in there? Like, really, did you put love in there? She goes, actually, my husband and I were fighting when I was making the food.
That's crazy. I got chills when you said that. I feel like there was a study I came across recently that talked about like they gave food to people that was like angry people and people that made it with love and that people like it was the same recipes but the vibes were different and that people rated the food with love like higher or something. I don't know where I saw that and that this came
Sure.
true. So I'm like it's science, it's like the little rice experiment. I talked about that last week or the week before. And you talk to the bowls of rice and you put them in there and when you talk love and hate negative things, or there's a third one like ignore it, that it is actually like you can see the difference of how they grow, how they manifest,
Yeah.
how it gets rotten, some of them, and the other ones flourish. Like it's crazy. And
so the water experiment too, Dr. Emoto, from what I heard, with like the snowflakes and
yes, yeah,
putting a certain word by it. I mean, there's so many ways where you're infusing energy and being intentional with certain things. How it's like having a home cooked meal. Well, as I was saying before, you can be having a home cooked meal and it tastes very different than eating at a restaurant. You can feel the care and the love most times with it being prepared.
Yeah, yeah. So if people want to work with you, they can get on the wait list for Genie and the headphones. And you also, you are open to exploring collaborations, is what I should say, with other entrepreneurs. And then people can actually contact you to work with you for the personalized healing journey musical experience, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, they can find me through my website. They can find me on social media channels. If you're all having a difficult time finding me, you can say, hey, Jen, where can I find him?
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm pretty reachable, and I reach out to people. I respond pretty quickly as well.
Robert's very on top of it, and all of his social media channels are on his website. I saw that you had posted a bunch of different things. I was like, well, I see the website, and I was like, let's just send them there. They're all there. There's a contact me.
Yeah.
If anyone can't get there, message me and I'll get you connected. Robert is phenomenal. He's super awesome, and he will take amazing care of you. He's very responsive. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it too.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to add before we peace out today?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me on, number one. And number two,
you.
I'm always excited to connect with people of a similar tribe. And like wherever you go, whatever you do, whatever you're thinking about, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, may you experience what you're meant to be experiencing. And at the same time, if you're craving healing, the healing is there. And, there are many people like ourselves, like Jennifer and I, are able to help in some way. So keep up the great work. And thank you for tuning in.
Yes, thank you everybody for coming today. If you have any additional questions, drop them in the chat and Robert or I will make sure that he can get you an answer to whatever you need. We had a lot of questions today, so it's always fun.
So rad. Thank you so much, everyone.
I know. Thank you. All right, everyone. Have an amazing day. And we have Called to Connect event tomorrow. If you want to attend, if you're like, what is this? Come check it out. It's pretty cool. Robert's going to be our featured healer doing some music for us. We have channeled messages from the universe for our featured speaker. For the Healing Collective, it's 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Message me. I'll get you the link and the coupon code so that you can attend on my free admission this month. Super excited. All right. Have a great one. Talk to you soon. Bye.
See ya. Thanks, everyone.